Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another day, another episode of 30NSG. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about PlayStation 5 Pro rumors. Is it good? Is it bad? We do these standalone topics on 30NSG live starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you like this type of content, please make sure you hit that like button. It's a great way to help the video and the channel out. I give you a topic up front so you can just listen to this and get the info that you want. And if you want to stay for the rest of the conversation and the live stream, you can. We discuss this topic with live chat each day, and then we talk about the topic later in the show. So let's get started. Good morning. Okay, according to Insider Gamer, however, a full-fledged gaming, however, is full-fledged pro-tier upgrade to the current PlayStation should be coming sometime in late 2024. Now, the website in question seems to be fairly certain about the veracity of the particular leak, going so far as suggesting that it will be more detailed about the console. Okay, so this is from Insider Gamer. Okay, Inside Gamer. That Sony has gotten plenty more in store for PlayStation users and generate, which may end up having something to do with the company's in-zone line of gaming hardware too. Okay, so the recent rumors have suggested that Sony is actively working on a new and improved version of the latest gaming console on PlayStation 5, tentatively named the PlayStation 5 Pro. This upgrade console is expected to have even better specs than the current PlayStation 5, offering more immersive gaming experience to players. Now, according to the source familiar with the matter, the PlayStation 5 Pro has been in development since 2020. While there's also no confirmation from Sony's regarding the existence of the PlayStation 5 Pro, the company has a history of releasing upgrade versions of their consoles, so the rumors also hold some truth. So, what can gamers expect from the PlayStation 5 Pro? The upgrade console is expected to have more powerful GPU, which is also allowed even better graphics and performance in games. Additionally, the PlayStation 5 Pro may have increased memory bandwidth, which would also result in faster load times and smoother gameplay. Now, one area where the PlayStation 5 Pro may be significant improvements is because of the cooling system. Some users of the current PlayStation 5 have reported issues of the overheating, so Sony may be focusing more on the efficiency cooling system for the PlayStation 5 Pro, and this could involve larger, more effective fans, as well as additional heat sinks to displace the heat. Another possibility for the PlayStation 5 Pro is a larger, faster solid-state drive, right? The current PlayStation 5 has a lightning-fast SSD, which greatly reduces the load times compared to the previous console. I mean, they built a whole game, Ratchet & Clank, based on the technology that they use for it. However, some gamers may want even faster load times and even larger SSDs and would allow for more games to be installed at once. Now, the new PlayStation 5 Pro leak also circulated back to discuss a previously rumored PlayStation 5 with a detachable disk drive, underlying the idea that two are supposed to be entirely separate devices. So if you wanted a hard drive, or a disk drive or a non-disk drive, you could buy it separately. Since the Pacific are still a little hazy, there's no way to tell if this sort of performance uplift users may need to expect. Now, to say nothing, of course, is the fact that it's possible that none of the rumors' claims are true in the first place. Okay? It's also possible that PlayStation 5 Pro could offer more advanced features for VR gaming. The current PlayStation 5 is already compatible with PlayStation VR, but the PlayStation 5 Pro could have an additional hardware or software optimizations to improve the VR experience. This would make the PlayStation 5 Pro more attractive option for gamers interested in virtual reality. And we'll kind of do more of a breakdown of why I think this is good or bad. If the PlayStation 5 Pro does turn out to be real, it's likely that it won't be released for a few years. I think next year is probably the timeline. Initial launch of the PlayStation 5, this also would fit similar patterns of the PlayStation 4 Pro, which was released several years after the original PlayStation 4. Now, let me tell you how fast they were, because I know Stealth says that this is too early. Everyone's saying this is too early. Well, the PlayStation 3, let me bring this up for you. Okay, the PlayStation 3 came out in 2006, right? Well, or I'm sorry, the PlayStation 2. No, PlayStation 3, sorry. PlayStation 3 came out in 2006, and then the PlayStation 3 Pro came out... Wait, is that right? No. PlayStation 3 release date. Okay, successor of PlayStation 2 as part of the PlayStation console. The first release on November of 2006, right? The Pro released 3 years after, okay, in 2009. Okay? September 3rd of 2009. PlayStation 4... had 2013. PlayStation 4 Pro came out in 2016. Okay, November 10th of 2016. So PlayStation 5 came out November 12th of 2020. Now, obviously, we had a pandemic in the world and everything was slow to get out the gates. So saying 2024, I think, is right on the money for as far as the predicament of what they've done in the past for these systems. So I don't think 2025 or 2026, like some of you are saying, 2024 seems right up in the alley of where it could be. Now, here's the difference. Because there was a pandemic and there was slow out the gate to get the PlayStation 5s in stores. Like right now, I went to Costco the other day. I went to Target the other day. There's PlayStation 5s everywhere, okay? I'm not in the market for a PlayStation 5 now because I've already purchased my $500 purchase for my graphics card. So I didn't get a PlayStation 5. Well, I'm one of the people that's actually happy for the PlayStation 4 Pro because when it comes out, I'll get a better system than the people that already got it, and they paid tons of money more than what they got. And the games that are out, I can wait because there's only a couple handful of games that are next-gen console games that came out for the PlayStation 5. And now when the PlayStation 5 Pro comes out, there'll be more of those games out that I can go back and play and enjoy those games as well. Now, while the existence of the PlayStation 5 Pro is still just a rumor at this point, it's clear that Sony is committed to pushing the boundaries of console gaming. With the PlayStation 5 already offering impressive performance and graphics, the PlayStation 4 or 5 Pro could take things to the next level, offering even more immersive gaming experience to players. Only time will tell if the rumors are true, but now the gamers can look forward to enjoying the impressive capabilities of the current PlayStation 5. Now, what does this mean for PlayStation going forward, right? What does this mean for Xbox going forward in the competitive? I don't think as Xbox and Sony are in competition, okay? They're in competition with each other, and Nintendo's off to the side doing their own thing. I see each of these companies in the gaming space going off on their own thing. Nintendo's in their little mobile market over here. Xbox is going to go to the cloud, okay? They don't really care about console sales. That's true, okay? Plus, everyone says that the S is holding everything back. Holding everything back for you, the gamer that plays all the time and wants 60 frames and wants the best stuff. But that's a small niche community of gamers. So much so that if every person that just loved gaming was a PlayStation fan, let's just say, that's 154 million people that owned a PlayStation 2, and there's 140 or something like that for a PlayStation 5 or 4. Now PlayStation 5's out, it's around 32 million. If those are the hardcore gamers, out of a 3 billion device area where there's multiple games, 3 billion people play video games now, right? 3 billion people play video games now. And if you're a hardcore gamer and you're only a PlayStation person, you're a small percentage. So looking at this, Sony's doubling down. They're saying, well, we're sticking with consoles. We're going to stay with the console. We're going to give the VR. They're going to dive in more for the VR to kind of get that. But even VR is a small niche community inside of the gaming space, okay? It's very small compared to the bigger, larger picture of gaming. So they're doubling down on VR. They're doubling down and giving you more power and games for the system. That's fantastic. Great. They make great first-party titles. They make God of War. They make Horizon. They make Uncharted. They make Last of Us. They make Spider-Man. But each of those games sell 20 million copies out of, if they sell 100 million copies of the PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 5 Pro, it's a very small percentage. Where Nintendo's got their hardcore group, and now Xbox is going for the cloud gaming. They're going for maybe not as high-end games, okay, but they just wanted to work across multiple platforms. What does this mean for developers? Well, this could be more appealing to developers to perform or to create games for PlayStation alone as exclusive, okay? But at the bigger picture, most companies that make video games want to make money, okay? They want to make money. And they can make that money with PlayStation if they just make a, let's say, exclusive game for PlayStation, right? They're capped out, okay? If 100 million consoles sold of PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 5 Pro when it comes out and there's a VR, they can segregate to that particular clientele. But then if you're a gamer that doesn't care about the pro settings of 4K, 60 frames per second, 120, whatever, there's a much bigger chunk of popularity of people just want to play games where they want, when they want, and they don't care. And that's the clientele Microsoft is going for, not the clientele that PlayStation is going for, right? They've said this. Both of them have said it. They're going for casual. This is why they're putting games on Xbox Series X, S, and One, and cloud. And this is why PlayStation is only doing it for PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4. They're keeping it inside the house. So there's a lot more people over here. Now, if you're looking for fantastic games, you have an option. You go to PlayStation. If you're looking to just play games because you don't care about all that stuff of ray tracing and all this other stuff, you have that space. And if you want mobile gaming, now you have kind of Xbox, and you have Nvidia, and you have Steam Deck, and you have Nintendo, and there's plenty of things for you, the customer, to choose and pick from, okay? So if you are in my opinion, if you are a super gamer and you want the best quality of the games that you can get, you're going to want to go with Sony PlayStation in the future, okay? If you want to just play games and you don't care and you're looking for to save some money and have a better deal for your value or better value, right? You're going to go with Xbox or Microsoft. And then if you don't care really and you're just a Nintendo fan because you've been a Nintendo fan ever since you were a little, wee lad, you're going to go with Nintendo as well, right? These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. We are going to continue this conversation and get what Chad is saying about the update of the PlayStation 5 rumor. Because, yeah, it's a rumor, but let's be honest. The PlayStation 2 did it. The PlayStation 3 did it. The PlayStation 4 did it. So why wouldn't the PlayStation 5 have a Pro? Again, these are my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section down below. And let's get started with chat. What's going on, chat? Let me scroll back up and see what you guys are saying here. Stealth says, this seems too fast. Been making a Pro console. It's right on the money. Technically, it should be coming out this year, right? Based on the past of the PlayStation 2, 3, and 4, right? So it should be literally this year, it should be. But they're not. They're pushing it to next year, probably Christmas time. Jesse Max says, Final Fantasy 16 developers said without the PlayStation 5 memory or higher ray tracing capabilities, it would also be still working. We would be still working the game still. But here's the thing, Jesse. It's the developers that are pushing the envelope of what their game can do with the memory. Not all games have to push the envelope, right, to work on the hardware that they have. You know what I'm saying? So, sure, if you're making a game that you want to be the high-end stuff with the greatest graphics and stuff, then sure, you're going to push that thing. But you don't actually have to use all the memory, okay? If I'm painting a room, I don't need to use the whole paint can, right? I can have leftover paint. I don't need to max out the entire thing. Water says, what's going on, guys? Currently, dentist getting numbed. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. That's never fun. That's just Sony's money talking. PlayStation 5 Pro 2026. I don't think so, Water. It's going to come out probably 2024. What's going on, Daniel? I wonder if you'll be able to trade my PlayStation 5 digital in for the Pro. Did they do that for the last trade-in? I was on the tail end. I got my PlayStation Pro or PlayStation Slim, whatever, 7 years into the cycle, which is what, 2 years after that console came out. I'm curious to what the price point is going to be set. Probably for the same price that it is right now. That's usually what they do, right? It's the cell phone mentality. If this is $700 and the next phone comes out, they move this one down, and the new one's $700. Right? Same with the consoles. They're going to need a Pro to run the real new games ASAP. Potentially, probably $700. Maybe from a scalper. I don't see it being that much. I don't see it being that much. I see they're releasing 2026 due to the chip shortage and pandemic. That's not happening right now. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. That's most likely. They aren't going to push the PlayStation 5 6 years into the console life. They could release a new console at this point if they wanted. Right, because the people... Here's the thing. The people that... It takes usually 2 to 3 years to jump in to the next-gen systems, right? And if you don't own a PlayStation right now, I'm one of them. Now, I'm not going to buy a PlayStation 5, right? This is a turnoff for me as far as buying a PlayStation 5. So this is why they're in stores right now. They don't want this leak to come out and say that they're working on a new system. But then again, people that are in the know, people here, right, watching, you guys are on the peak of it. You're on the front. You're the trendsetters. You buy the new systems when they come out. The majority of the population doesn't know that there's a PlayStation 5 Pro coming out, right? They don't. They see PlayStation 5s in the stores now. They're going to pick up a PlayStation 5. They're going to buy it. And then once they smell this later, they already have the system for a year and a half to be like, well, what the hell, man? I just bought the system. And then all of a sudden, now they're coming out with a PlayStation 5 Pro. Like, that's the majority. Like, here's how much of a no I'm in. When I bought my Nintendo Switch, I was looking at the barcode, right? The serial number not the barcode, but the serial number on the back of the box, because I didn't want the old inventory. I wanted the new inventory that was coming in. Okay, that's how much of an in the know I am in. Okay, when they were releasing the new switches over the old switches. Okay, because they'll push that old inventory out to try to get it, and then I wouldn't pick it up. I would wait to find the one that I wanted and to get it because there was less issues, less problems. People prototyped and tested it for me for years before I bought the one. Right. PlayStation 5 Pro on par with high level GPUs. Maybe, potentially, Water. I mean, we don't know the total stats of the PlayStation 5, right? It's all rumored. We're all speculating what it could be, right? We would assume it's higher end level. I don't think it would be a 4090. I don't think so, Daniel. I don't think so. They would probably use ones that were. I mean, what is the ones in the chips right? What is the GPU in the system right now? It's like 5 years, 6 years old, correct? So the Pro coming out, I don't think it's going to make it guaranteed day and date of the new graphics cards. No way, no way. I didn't even buy a Pro last time around. But did you buy the regular one, Stealth? I mean, the PSVR 2 is more expensive than the PlayStation 5, so the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be that price or higher. Again, though, the PSVR, that's a bad example, though. The PSVR 2 is a niched market. The more they make, the cheaper the product comes down, right? So anyone that's in the forefront of buying stuff, you're going to pay a premium price. The more that it's out and the more people that buy it, the price comes down. That's the way it works, right? So that's the issue. Like, I don't think they're going to come out with a system at $700. Now, we've had speculations and conspiracies back in the past on this show because it was done with the graphics card. So why wasn't it done with the consoles? But like, for instance, there was a graphics card company that said that the graphic card would be $300-400. Then they made a subsidiary company. And like idiots, they didn't change the owner of the thing, and it was found out that they were the subsidiary company that was selling third-party graphics cards at 5 times the price. Okay, so the company comes out and says, "Oh yeah, the price is at $300," and then they come out and you're going online buying it for $1,200. Okay, 4 times the amount of money that they were supposed to be. Well, those are scalpers. Well, the scalper actually turned out to be the actual company itself. So people were speculating that Nintendo has been for that as well. Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox, they're like, oh yeah, here's the console. We're selling it for $400 or $500, and then it's online for $1,000 because of supply and demand. That's just capitalism at its finest, right? But that's the issue, right? So to say that they're going to come out with a PlayStation at $1,000, sure, you'll get maybe 1 million people to pay $1,000, but the other 99 million people that are going to buy it are not going to buy it at that price. As in, no way they can't put the 490 level GPU in the console. Yeah, exactly. They're not going to do it. They're not going to put that high of graphics card in there. Yeah, Stealth. I don't even think I have. I don't even think that's a Pro. I think that's just a Slim. It came bundled with the Spider-Man. I think it's just a regular. So, yeah, I think, and when I go back to this and I look at this PlayStation 3, right? The PlayStation 3 models came out. Let me see what this actually says. They had the Slim model. Do they have the actual release dates when this came out? PlayStation 3 came out in 2007. They had a 20 gig and 60 gig come out in 2006. They had the 60 gig and 80 gig, okay, come out in 2007. They had a 40 gig, 80 gig, and 160 gig come out in 2008. And then they had a 120 gig and 250 gigabyte Slim in 2009. Okay. And then they had a 320 gig in 2010. Okay. So they literally upgrade little minute things every single, and that was PlayStation 3. PlayStation 4 came out in 2013. Okay, and PlayStation 4 Pro came out in 2016. Now, they did raise it by $100 according to this article. Okay. They did raise it by $100. So the regular PlayStation that came out in 2016 was $299 in America. Okay. When it came out in I'm sorry, September 2016, the PlayStation 4 came out, and it was $299 for the Slim, and it was $400 for the Pro. Okay, so the Pro will probably be $100 more. So if it's $500 now for the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro will be $600, and it'll be digital, and they'll sell the disc drive separately if people wanted the disc drive, and they'll probably sell that at an additional $150. So it'll probably be like $750 if you wanted, right? They'll start meal piecing it together for you. What does this mean, though, for PlayStation moving forward? Is this good or bad? Are they going to continue making and upgrade the console? Are they going to continue making PlayStation 5 Pro? Are they going to make a PlayStation 6, the PlayStation 6 Pro? Are they going to make a PlayStation 7, PlayStation 7 Pro? Where Xbox is going, we're making games and they're across the whole thing, right? Now, Xbox has still got that little box that was on Phil Spencer's shelf behind him. There's the future of where they're going. They say it's a little too early for that one. It's not ready yet. The Keystone, so smooth. Okay, the Keystone that they had. Okay, people said it was rumored, then it was true, then they're not rumored, then it is whatever. They're going for that. They're not going for power, at least yet, right? In the background, they're probably working on the technology. They're probably working on the technology to make that system better and better with the latency over the cloud gaming. Now, high-speed internet or whatnot, where people are, it's going to be less and less people buying it. But at the same time, what's the difference, right? Hear me out here. What's the difference if a PlayStation 5 Pro comes out? It's got the greatest graphics, and the population that's buying these hardcore games is literally 2%, right? Or 10% of their total thing, right? If there's 100 million people that get a PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 5 Pro, okay, and they're only selling 5 million, 10 million copies of their number one selling, first party title game, that's 10%. That's 10%. Where Game Pass is going for this giant spectrum of people. They don't care if you're a pro gamer. If you're a pro gamer, you buy an X, right? And you're going to be hindered because there's the S, and then you're going to be hindered because of the Keystone, whenever that comes out and that gets announced, right? So there's a lot of things that are being hindered for both, because now if PlayStation is still supporting old gen games for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, then you have PlayStation 5 Pro. No matter if the PlayStation 5 Pro comes out, they still got to make it work for the PlayStation 5, right? So I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference to completely change. Obviously, the SSD will change. I don't know if the graphics card will change that much, okay? But they'll run faster, right? It'll be a faster system, less load times or whatnot. They'll get down by milliseconds or whatnot, which feels like a lifetime when you're playing a video game. But overall, where are they going? What are they going to do? Their market seems like that's it. That's the market. 100, 120, 140 million people. Like, what's a PlayStation 4 sales? PlayStation 4 sales totals. PlayStation 4, 117.2 million. Okay. 117.2 million, right? That might be up to 130 now or whatever it is, right? That's it. That's the clientele. That's what they're going for. They're going for that 100 million, 150 million people, and which is a huge chunk, don't get me wrong. Okay? I mean, I would love 150 million people watching my channel, right? But that, so nothing to take away from PlayStation, but that's it. That's their growth. They haven't gotten more than that. PlayStation 2, I think, was 154, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, which is one of the best-selling consoles of all time, 158 million units, right? So even if they sell the PlayStation 5 and Pro, whatever, at 150, let's say they get 200 million, that's it. You're going to get 10% of the population that gets your first-party title games across the board. Kind of good and bad themselves, because the PlayStation 5 is not enough PlayStation 5 games just yet, and they keep making the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 versions of the games, right? But they're slowly getting away from that, right? And I think more of the developers are trying to get away from it, like Jedi Survivor is only on the next-gen system. And I think they're making the right choice because they don't want to make another port. They don't want to dummy down their game. They want it the best possibility on the next-gen system, right? So going forward, you got to see. We did that interview yesterday. Hold on one second. So yesterday we're talking. We were doing the breakdown with Michael Prackner. Okay, and he was talking about how Sony will be less of a market. Less people will buy systems, including Xbox, including Nintendo, including less people are buying consoles, more people are playing games on the cloud and whatnot, right? So if PlayStation sells 200 million units, obviously that's the most ever, right? But there are 200 million people of a 3 billion market, which is absolutely, minuscule. So will they be able to survive when the momentum starts to swing towards cloud gaming, when the momentum starts to swing where Amazon puts their hat in the ring and maybe Apple puts their hat in the ring, and and then there's, instead of the big three here in consoles, now there's the big three in streaming, Amazon, Google, and let's say Microsoft. Okay, how is that going to change the landscape? And I'm not saying PlayStation will go bye-bye forever. They're just going to be smaller and smaller piece of the pie of it. They'll be number one in consoles, sure, but overall in the gaming space, they're going to struggle. So is this the right move to continue to push towards this? If they're happy with it, then by all means stay there, because Nintendo's happy with their market, right? They stay there and they're happy in their own little space. They can be around for the next 20, 30 years because Nintendo has their main base of characters that they have. They have Mario and Mario Kart, and then they have Metroid, and they have Zelda, and they Sonic. They just keep making the same games, first-party titles, new system, pop those out, and they have the same recurring people that come back every single time, and they're happy where they are. Is Sony happy where they are? That's the question. Dave Ross says that's all they need, because that's the clientele actually buys games, unlike Xbox users. Right, and Dave, that's what I'm saying. So if they are happy with that, then that's where they stay. But that'll probably get smaller and smaller. PlayStation 2 had 158. PlayStation 4 had 117, right? There's less console sales happening each and every cycle, okay? It went to its peak, and now it's dipping down, okay? So to say that the PlayStation 5, right, is going to sell 158 million, that would be king. Right, if 158.1 million or whatever, that would be king. I don't know if PlayStation is going to sell that many units. Okay, I think this unit round, now that they're in stores and people are going to buy them, I think they will break over 100 million. But are they going to be the best PlayStation sales of all time? I don't know. There's so many more options to go play games and do stuff. It's so different than the landscape of PlayStation 2, 20 years ago. PC gained a lot of people in the last 2 years. Well, PC has the most people. They have, I think it's 2 billion people play on PC games, but that's a big broad scale. There's not 2 billion people buying the one game. You know what I mean? There's just that many people playing games across the board. I think it's the right move. I'll definitely buy a PlayStation 5 Pro if they make one, which they will. Dave, come on, they are. And I already own a PlayStation 5 as long as it has a disc drive. If it goes all digital, I'm out. Well, I think the rumor is, Dave, that they're going to make it digital and they're going to sell the disc drive separate, right? So you would have to buy the disc drive separate. That's just rumored, though. Microsoft has signed another deal in the time with the cloud gaming provider. Yeah, it's a weird deal though, Stealth. I'm looking at it like I've never even heard of the company, and not saying it's not a thing, but it's just weird that all of a sudden, like I've never heard of them until they just made the offer. But I see what they're doing, right? I see what Microsoft is doing. They're just one more peg into that cloud potential thing. And see, this is the thing. Sony is king right now of consoles, and they have their market, and they're going to make it, right. They're not going to die off, but at the same time, they're not expanding their player base, even with just selling the PC. Now, I don't know what did Sony PC titles. I know they don't really give you the sales. Let's see. Sony expects to earn $300 million off its PC releases during the new fiscal year ending March 31st of 2023. It's a significant increase from $80 million and $35 million in the two previous years. So they've shifted, right? They're making a huge percentage more on the PC, but at the same time, I want to know the sales. According to the slide, Sony got $108.9 million in revenue from its three big PC releases so far. $108.9 million in revenue. Sony estimates that PC game sales will jump 375% over. Yet Sony insists that the next fiscal year will end with $300 million in PC game sales, a 375% jump year over year. Let me see. Do they tell boost PlayStation price, number of sales? Do they say what they've made? Like Days Gone? Do they give you the actual sales numbers? Okay. Here you go. Official PlayStation PC numbers. PC sales numbers revealed by Sony. Horizon Zero Dawn, 2.39 million, 60 million in revenue. Okay. That's a small, great for them. That's 2.39 million more copies sold of Horizon that it didn't have because they weren't on PC, right? So that's fantastic. But again, so if Horizon Zero Dawn sold 30 million, now it sold 32.9 or 39 million. Okay. Days Gone, 852,000, made 22.7 million in revenue. Again, not earth shattering. God of War didn't even break 1 million, which is very surprising to me. That's very surprising. I thought for sure God of War would break over 1 million. It's crazy to me that Horizon Zero Dawn got 2.39 million, but God of War only made 971,000. Wow. Okay, it says Sony is focusing on huge PC growth over the next fiscal year, right? Hopefully, right, they can make the dividends that's happening here. I mean, obviously, it's not a massive deal because even if they sell, again, they can't sell any more PlayStations. It's capped out. The max was 158 for that one console 20 years ago, and they can never get back up. They haven't got up to that point again. It's been diminishing returns on their consoles. So now subsidizing them, basically moving them over to PC, is that going to be enough to make up the difference, right? Taiwan-based cloud gaming provider has helped get Control and other games in Nintendo Switch. Ubisoft will get Xbox PC games on Activision ones. Interesting. They do have that going. They can recoup money when they release exclusives on PC. I'm still waiting for Ghost of Tsushima to arrive. Right. Now they're getting some money back, but is that going to be enough? You see what I'm saying? Like if they sell, let's say, 100 million copies of the new PlayStation 5. Let's say it hits 100 million even. We'll do simple math here. Okay. That's still 17 million less than the PlayStation 4 sales. Okay. And out of that percentage, only 10%, I'll even give them 20% of the population is buying those first-party title games. Okay? Because I'm assuming the same person that bought, again, being very generalistic here, but the same person that bought Horizon Zero Dawn first-party title is buying God of War first-party title, which is buying Spider-Man's first-party title, right? Because they're all around the same. There might give or take a couple of mil, right? It might be like two less, two more, as far as like 20, 22, 30, 32, whatever it is. Okay, is the PC coming over doing that additional 2 mil, 3 mil. Like, this is not Earthshine. They're not selling 10 million copies of their game over on PC. You see what I'm saying? So you're not making up the difference of the systems that you're selling on. You're still only selling to about 15 to 20% of your audience, regardless if it's on PC or if it's on anything else. Microsoft's business strategy now is we don't care if you buy the game, right? We just want you to get $10 to $15 of your hard-earned money every single month, and we want a lot of you to do it, okay? Sony's trying to sell consoles for $700, $600, right? If the Pro comes out, it's $700. Where Xbox is trying to get 200 million people to get Xbox Game Pass. You see the difference? They're trying to sell to 200 million people to get a $10 item, $15 item, where Sony is saying, hey, pay this for $600 and then pay $70 for the game. Okay? It's more likely that Xbox will hit 200 million or 100 million, 150 million subscribers before PlayStation gets 150 console sales, 150 million console sales. Sony has needed to adapt more pretty quick, and soon the gaming world then. I've said this about 3 years ago when Game Pass was coming out, and everyone was saying that Game Pass would be garbage, and Sony's going to win. And I said, well, Microsoft's not even playing the same game anymore. I was like, they're going off in their own thing. Now we see it. 3 years later, we see that what Microsoft is doing, and we see where PlayStation is. It's literally genius. How many of you have forgotten to cancel a monthly, or it's harder to do it, just like whatever? It's there. I want it. What's $10, $15 a month anyway? Exactly. Now, here's the great part, right? Everyone always says that, well, it's only, a game is $70. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? It's $70. If you don't have $70, then what are you complaining about? Well, it's $10, $15, right? You could pay for 7 months and get 100 games each and every single month and take, and play it. Even if you don't ever play, right? Even if you played 3 games, right? 3 games, because 3 games would be 210. And if you pay for the whole year, it's 120. If you pay 15, it's 180. So 3 games. 3 games on Xbox. Right? So if you went out, even though it was an okay game, if you bought Outriders, right? You bought Outriders, you were gonna buy Starfield, and you were gonna buy No Man's Sky. Okay, you've made your money's worth, right? You're gonna make your money's worth on Game Pass, right? But then the gamers like to the people that plant their flags in a plastic box, which I find funny. They start to go, well, we have better things over here than you do, and it's like, okay, right? Not everyone is a stockbroker or doctor with 100 hours of game time. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people that don't make the money that certain people do. So there's another brand for them to purchase, right? And it's weird because in the society, it's like you're always looking for a good deal. But for certain things, you're not looking for a good deal, right? You're looking to show off what your money can buy you, like cars, video games for some reason, right? Like, I own a PlayStation, like I must be rich, right? That type of thing. It's a weird thing. And I'm not saying all PlayStation or all Xbox fans are like this, but there is a specific group that flaunts what they have to make them feel like make themselves better to other people, and it's just kind of weird. But you're playing those 100 games. No, most are garbage. They just throw on there so they can pay for the $100 a year for what I'd rather just pay $70 for titles I want to know. But you're being very specific to you, right? Here, you're one person that would rather pay $70. My son's 8 years old, and he plays like 40 games a week, right? He just plays and tries it out and plays, right? So for you, $70 is a really good value. But for me, paying that $10 a month is saving me a fucking fortune. Okay. Right? So am I wrong for being not paying $70 for each game, or $30 or $40 for each game that he wants to play? That was my whole thing in the very beginning, Dave. I said that Sony is going for they've cut their line, they've drawn their line in the sand. They're saying we are going for the high end gamers. They've said this years ago. We're going for high end gamers. And but my thing is that the high end gamer is a small percentage of the entire. Like, there's 3 billion people playing video games. They're going for 20 million people. That's what they're going for. Do you see what I'm saying? There's 3 billion people playing video games, and Sony's going for 20 million, 30 million people playing on their system. Not even the 100 million people that will buy the PlayStation. They're only going for those 30 million people that are buying Horizon, buying God of War, buying Spider-Man, buying Uncharted. And if they're okay with that, then fine. Go along with it. Sarge says, that's the game, Dave. They're trying to establish value. If there's a purview to value, people don't care. They're hitting families and households in no way Sony can. It's unstoppable compared to your average gamer. Right. They're all going their separate ways, which I've said in the very beginning of my thing. They're all going their separate ways. Nintendo's in their little group. They have the ages from birth to death, right? That's Nintendo's age range. Birth to death, right? Sony's waiting for those people that stop playing. What's it called? They stop buying games at a certain period of time, and then they move on to Sony PlayStation, right? And then Xbox is getting everybody else. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I don't know what happened there for a second. Big T, from birth to death. That's Nintendo's game market. That's their gaming market. Birth to death. You come out of the womb, they hand you a Nintendo, and when you die, you have to turn it back in. Right? And Xbox is looking, right? PlayStation's looking. Here's the thing. It's like going to I have this we have this dessert place, okay, over by me. I think it's called the Glass Knife. I think it's in Winter Park. It's about 20 miles from me. But they're a high-end pastry place. High-end, okay? They're okay, right? And then just down the street, there's this small bakery, okay? That's packed all the time. Packed all the time. So their prices are reasonable, and their pastries are fantastic. And then the Glass Knife, their pastries are good too, but you're paying 4 times the price for the same thing, and it's smaller. Okay, there's a clientele for the Glass Knife. Okay, for the high-end pastries, but the small bakery is packed all the time, and they run out of stock all the time. Okay, and those are the two things, right? One's Xbox, one's PlayStation. Not wrong. I'm 42, still playing Mario, Metroid, Donkey Kong, etc. Exactly, right? And this is why Nintendo can do whatever they want. They get you when you're young, and you love it. You love those characters. Those characters are fantastic, and you're always going to play those characters moving forward because either you're still interested or you're going to let your family play it, like your kids or your grandkids, right? And that's just it. They have you. They have you for life, okay? Sony doesn't have you for life. Most of the games you can't play until you're like a teenager. Okay. Okay, I'm not gonna let my 8-year-old play God of War. I'm not gonna let my 8-year-old play certain games. He's got to be like a 12-year-old, 10, 11, 12-year-old, maybe to start playing certain games. Okay, that's me, right? And then he's gonna play it up to a certain point, maybe one generation. Let's say by the time he hits 12, there's a PlayStation 6. Okay, PlayStation 6. Let's say it stays around for 7 years. Well, if he starts at 12, it ends at 19. He's off to college. Maybe he continues playing games. Maybe he starts a family, whatever. He loses interest or whatever. Shit happens in life, okay? But casual gamer, you're like, yeah, you know what? I played this when I was a teenager. Now I'm adult. I don't really have the time anymore. I don't feel like spending $700 on a system that I don't have time to play. Oh, I can play Game Pass. I don't have to buy a system. And I can play all these games for $10. Sign me up. Right? Don't be so harsh on Sony. I'm sure there's a few thousand parents who let their 5 or 8-year-olds play God of War. That's some serious revenue. Sure, but I don't think the average gamer playing God of War is like 5 or 8. Don't get me wrong. I put my son in my lap when I played certain video games. It was fun to see him do certain things, but I don't think there's a massive clientele for that. I know you're joking, but I don't think there's a massive clientele for that. I am a little I'm not worried. I'm not worried for Sony, but after what Michael Proctor said yesterday's interview, and we went over it, and he said that in 10 years they might not be around. Okay, and he said that the console market, this is across the board, is shrinking. Right, less and less people are buying consoles. Okay. Let me look at what PlayStation. Let's see. PlayStation sales. PlayStation 1 sales. Okay. Yeah, so a total of PlayStation games were released. The circulated sales of 967 million units. That's actual games sold for them. Sony PlayStation video game console. Let's see. Total sales. Okay. So Sony PlayStation 1 final total sales sits at 102.4 million. Okay, with 960 million software units sold. Okay. PlayStation 2 sold 158 million units. PlayStation 3 sold 87.4 million units. PlayStation 4 sold 117 million units, right? So it dipped and then came back up. Okay. I think the PlayStation 3, though, they kind of priced themselves out of the market, didn't they? That's why it was so expensive. Yeah, so all right, PlayStation 2 right now is number 1 at 155 million, just 0.8 ahead of Nintendo DS. And Switch is coming up fast with 122 million. Here, I'll bring this up on screen so you guys can see it. Okay. And then we have PlayStation 4 at 117, PlayStation at 102, PlayStation 3 is 87, right? They price themselves out, which is actually pretty damn close to Xbox 360. That's the closest you'll ever see a PlayStation and Xbox console. 87.4 and 84. I didn't know it was that close. The first model was the $600, but then they released a PlayStation 3 Slim, right? But they still only sold 87.4 million, right? PlayStation Portable sold 80 to 82 million estimate. Right? You look at Nintendo. Nintendo and PlayStation, right? Nintendo DS, Game Boy, Wii. Right? Top 10, 7 of the 10 are either PlayStation. I'm sorry. 9 of the top 10 are either PlayStation or Nintendo. Series XS is 18.5, and PlayStation 5 is at 30 mil, right? I think maybe PlayStation maybe gets over 100, and it might beat the PlayStation 4, but I say it'll just beat PlayStation 2. Or I'm sorry, PlayStation, not PlayStation 2, PlayStation. It'll get more than PlayStation 3, but maybe beat PlayStation, the original PlayStation, right? So his analyst was correct. Like the console market is shrunk, right, across the board. Xbox 360, if you look at 360 sales, or Xbox sold 24 million copies, which is nothing, right? Then Xbox One or 360 came out, right? Where's the 360? 360 sold 84 million. Then Xbox One sold 51 to 58 million. And now you're down to Xbox Series SS is at 18.5, right? Less and less. And I think Xbox knows that, hence why they're moving to the cloud. They're moving to the cloud. Now that it's more readily available, I think the big games are starting to come out. It definitely goes to over 100 mil. I don't know. I don't think it goes over that, because look at the circumstances we're in, right? We're in a recession. Lots of people are not going out and buying $500 systems. The small percentage are. The gamers are. The people that have extra money that can go out and buy it. I'm a gamer. I can't afford it. I can't afford another system. I'm not buying it. Not because I don't like it, because I can't afford it. Right? I can't justify it in this date right now to go out and buy another $500. Like it was at Costco. It was $619 for God of War, extra controller, and a PlayStation. I was like, nah, I can't do it. Can't do it. Right? So I don't think we have 100 million units. I think PlayStation's shooting out all their inventory right now to try to get rid of this old inventory that was already being built and being shipped and getting ready. They're trying to push this because the PlayStation 5 Pro, I guarantee you, will come out next holiday. Next year, not this year. It'll come out in 2024. But by the record of them, the new system comes out every 3 years after the original system. This system came out in 2020, right? And then 2023, this holiday season, the PlayStation 5 Pro Slim could come out, or Pro, whatever. There's a lot of people that can't afford to purchase a system right now. There's a lot of people that can't afford a graphics card right now. Yeah. Well, it's actually, if it was on par, Dave, it would actually come out this year. Because we did the research. Every year that the PlayStation came out with the 2 and then the Slim and then the 3 and the Slim and the 4 and the Slim, whatever, or the update or the Pro, was 3 years after the original console. So that would be this year. That would be this holiday season. So it's not too early. I know a lot of people think it's too early, but I think it'll be delayed 1 year because of the of the coof, right? Because of the pandemic that would happen. I think they now are getting they're getting it out and pushing those out. And this is why I said in my opening, I said that most people won't know that there's a new system coming out. Like the rumors that I'm talking about and that you're listening to, we're the small percentage of people that are on the cusp of technology. We listen to stuff, we read about stuff. Those are the people that know that there's a rumored PlayStation 5 Pro coming. The masses, right? The masses of it don't know that. So they're going out right now and buying a PlayStation 5, right? They're going out and purchasing this, and then when they hear the news, it's already too late. They've already purchased it. See, you're on the cusp of, you said that you have a PlayStation 5. Water has a PlayStation 5. He's thinking about upgrading to the PlayStation 5 Pro. You said you would pick up a PlayStation 5 Pro, right? You're on that cusp. You are that minority, not the majority. I think that I don't think this affects. I think developers making games for them not really affected. I think they're actually, hopefully for their sake, don't have to make games now for multiple systems. They can just make it for the PlayStation 5, right? So it'd be PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro. That's what they're making for. I probably will, but not sure. PC is my main thing now, but I might still buy a Pro for support. Right. But again, boss, you guys would be the minority of it, right? Already have a PlayStation 5, then buying a Pro because you are a fan, right? No matter where I go, I don't forget where I came from. So that was your first system you ever played? Was Sony? You didn't play Nintendo? You didn't play Atari? You didn't play any of that? Where you came from? Like, never played any video games up until, I don't know how old you are. PlayStation? I'll buy a Pro if the system is really huge, different compared to the PlayStation 5. I'll buy a Pro if the system is a really huge, different compared. You're different, like, physically looking or, like, power-wise? No, I played Nintendo and Sega, but I do love Sony. Well, what the hell is the statement then of where I came from? What the fuck does that mean? Where I came from? You came from Nintendo and Sega. I'm throwing that comment out the window. I don't forget where I came from. So Nintendo. So you're gonna support Nintendo. So you have, like, how many Switches do you have? Nintendo and Sega were just consoles, never had my heart. Okay, sure. You mean you were young and your parents were buying you systems, and Sony was probably the first system that you bought with your own money. A couple years ago, I looked everywhere for a PlayStation or Xbox, but they were all sold out. Got a PC, and I don't think I ever want to go back to console gaming. There you go. Yeah, but don't say a statement like, I don't forget where I came from. Right? Because that's just a blatant, that's some fluff to make you feel like you're a better Sony fan than everybody else. I cut my teeth on the Sony. If it wasn't for Nintendo and Sega, you wouldn't even buy a Sony. You're like, man, these video games are good. And then you're like, oh, you know what? That looks better. I'm going to buy that. I was a teenager. PlayStation is the only console that I bought on my own of them. And yeah, I came from Sony. I breathe Sony. You didn't come from Sony. You didn't come from Sony. You're just making yourself feel better because you're a Sony guy. You're like, yeah, I'm bleed. If I cut my Sony just spews out of my wrist. Do we need to download anything extra to play Diablo 4? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. It does. When I go to the bathroom, I piss Sony. Spews out. I can't help Sony wasn't out yet. You're right. It wasn't out yet. So you can't say the fact that you came from them. If you were born when Sony was already out and that was the first system you, like, gaga goo goo, your mom put a controller in your hand, that's the first thing you played, then you came from Sony. But I'm sorry. Years and game, you just said that you played Nintendo and Sega before Sony, so you can't say you came from Sony. What's going on first? Morning, Chief. Those are just facts, boss. You can make up whatever origin story you want. How you became a fan or how you became something. I don't claim Sega Nintendo, but again, it doesn't matter what you claim. It doesn't matter what you claim. What you played before Sony was Nintendo and Sega. Again, you can make your own origin story up. That's fine. No, I didn't check out the new season. NES was your first console? Played Atari, but it wasn't mine. Again, you can make your own origin story up. It's fine. When you make a comic book up and you want to become Sony man, you can do that. Cool. But what you actually, the reason you got into video games wasn't because of Sony. I'm just saying. The console that brings everyone in is life to death, which is Nintendo. Right? Everybody, life to death. Nintendo to death. Right? From birth to death, Nintendo. You proved my point perfectly. Until you were a teenager, you didn't know Sony existed. And now kids play Sony because of their parents, like their dad, their mom's a gamer, and they have a Sony, so they played Sony. They also a Nintendo in that house. Kids nowadays can be like, yeah, I came from Sony. You can't. You can't claim you came from Sony. Sorry, just facts. Old box Nintendo for me. Oh, yeah. I came from the Atari 2600. That was my first system I played, and then fell in love with gaming on Nintendo NES. Technically, I fell in love with gaming in the arcade. The arcade games before Nintendo came out. ColecoVision, we played ColecoVision, but the first one I played, Water, was my very first game ever was bowling on the Atari 2600. The little pixelated thing. Like, this was my first. Here, hold on. This was my first game. I remember sitting in my dad's lap and playing this right here. Hold on, let me mute it because I don't want to hear the. I guess you could hear it, right? This is my introduction to video games right here. This is my very first game. Listen to the sound. That's it. That right there was the beginning of 30 and still gaming. Okay. This was my first game I ever played. You got that controller, and you move. It's got the suction cup. I used to pull that suction cup off, right? The handle, right? That was it. What is that? You got 10 pixels on one end. Okay, you got 10 pixels on one end. You got maybe 20 on the other end. Throwing a 8-pixel ball towards 10 pixels, and that was it. That's what I fell in love with video games. Now, obviously, there's plenty of other games after this, okay? But this game is this is where I came from. Those graphics were amazing. They were. Okay, everyone thinks like Pong would be my first one. No, my dad loved bowling so much, or still does. Okay, and he was playing, and I would sit in his lap, and I would move that controller and play, and this is what it was. Where I came from doesn't exist anymore. Atari is a garbage company. They're making hotels and NFTs now, or cryptocurrency. Sony's where the heart is. I've moved up the master race, though. I will always bleed Sony. You're just contradicting yourself all left and right now. So you love Sony, but you rather play on PC. What happened to the system where they're making? They made it. I forget what it's called. The one they did, but it bombed completely. I don't even think it sold 1 million units. What is that Atari? The new Atari system, new Atari. I forget what it was called. They didn't know what the hell. They didn't know what the hell it was. The Atari VCS. Let me see. Let's do a. It retails for $300. Every system includes Atari VCS Vault, a collection of 100 Atari games and 2,600 games, fully optimized for classic joystick and modern controls. Ooh. How many units do you think it sold? How many units do we think it sold? I don't even think they. Wow, that's sad. 200,000? No. No. Well, here it says the exact sales figures of the VCS are unknown. But according to Atari's fiscal report, sales related to hardware fell from 2.44 million in 2021 to around 212,000 in 2022. Due to underperformance of the VCS, the company suspended the relationship with the original manufacturer partner in December of 2022. Atari said it remains committed to the VCS platform and has been adding more support for developers to continue to add more games to the store. Right? So the last sales figure that we have here is, let's see. I think they said it was 200. Yeah. Okay, so on May 29th, 2020, Atari announced the first batch of 500 production units are ready to exist at factory by mid-June and expected all 10,000 VCS units would be delivered to backers by 2020, by the end of 2020. So only 10,000 people got it from the Kickstarter or whatever they did for to get it. Okay? And ever since then, they don't actually give you the sales numbers. So, well, let's look at the math here, right? They can't hide. They can't hide. If they sold 2.44 million, okay, 2.44 million divided by, oops. They sold 8,000 units. 8,000 units. And then it went from 2.44, right? So they sold 8,000 units. So they sold 10,000 in the Kickstart. They sold 8,000 in 2021. And then it went down to 212,000. They sold 709 units last year. That's impressive. That's impressive. That's impressive. So they sold a combined total of 12,709 units. Well, how come they're not in talks with the big three? Holy Christ. I think Soulja Boy's console sold more. Is that true? Let me see. Soulja Boy's console. Let me see. I will laugh my ass off if it sold more. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Soulja Boy's console sold 5 million copies. $5 million copies. Can you imagine? Can you imagine someone claiming? Let's fast forward. Let's fast forward 12 years from now. Okay. Someone's streaming and they come into the chat like Boss did and said, I cut my teeth on Soulja Boy's console. I came from Soulja Boy console. Can you imagine someone making a claim like that? They're like, Where did you get that number, Soldier Boy? It says here from Screen Rant. It says, guess how many consoles Soldier Boy has sold. It says maintain that he claimed he sold 5 million copies of Soldier Boy console, while when insisting it wasn't afraid of potential legal actions from Nintendo. Obviously, he got sued to Kingdom Come. All right, but 5 million. I mean, I guess you could claim whatever you want, but the fact that if Soldier Boy did sell 5 million, hell, even if he sold 1 million, okay, he sold more than the Atari VCS. Yeah, he got sued big time by Nintendo. The Atari VCS, that's sad. 12,000. 12,000. They're also making the Atari Hotel. I don't know if that's still going up. The Atari Hotel. I think it's in Vegas. Or was it in Arizona? Let's see. Atari Hotel is the first of its kind. I don't even think is it. If all goes according to plan, the first hotel is expected to start operations in 2022, located in Las Vegas, being designed. I don't even think it's out. Still waiting for the KFC console. You know that it's funny that they did that. Yeah, what happened to the KFC? I don't know. Let's see. KFC console. Those of you that didn't know, this was I don't know if this was a fake thing or if this was a real thing, but they had it. They whatever it was a good promotion, right? This was the Cooler Master. Introducing the KF console. Powered your hunger. You could put fried chicken in the drawer. Okay. Had an iCore i9 9th generation. Okay. Okay, VR ready, ray tracing, 240 frames with 240 hertz output with 4K TV gaming. Will the KFC run Diablo? Hey, maybe, probably. Because chicken grease is the greatest, yeah. Did they actually show this? I don't think it's actually real. So, Tony, hit you with the juicy news. What news would you like? You can rewind it to the front of the video. We're just talking about the rumored of PlayStation 5, what it potentially could have in it, and then what does it mean? What does it mean for Sony going forward as far as with the PlayStation 5? They've drawn the line in the sand with what their clientele is, right? And that's fine. You need to know what your clientele is, and their clientele is the high end gamer, right? They want people. They want to make games for people that are gamers. Okay, so the market cap for them is pretty much maxed out, right? They've never hit the point of where PlayStation 2 was at 155 million units consoles, right? That's the number one selling console of all time, just ahead of I think the 3DS, right? And only 10%, 10 to 15%, well, I'm sorry, 10 to 20% of their clientele buy their first party title games, right? So even if they sell PlayStation 5 or 5 Pro to 100 million units, they're still only selling 20 to 30 million units to their certain first party title game, right? So it's hard to keep that growth, right? And Michael Proctor, we did We went over the interview that Destin Laguerre did with him yesterday, and he said, Michael Proctor said, that console sales are diminishing. Every single console cycle has gone down and down, and we just looked at the numbers, and 100% is true. Okay, so Sony is drawing the line in the sand, right? They're going with the VR, so they're going with the high end there. They're getting that niche market. They're getting the niche market of the people that love playing those like high end titles of God of War, Horizon, Uncharted, Last of Us, Spider-Man, all those, Gran Turismo. They're really like diving into that. Is that market enough for them, right? Because their PC sales are not very good. Horizon Forbidden West sold 2 million, but everything else after sold less than 1 million copies. Like 917,000 for Days Gone, 171,000 for God of War. Spider-Man, I'm not really too sure what the sales of that one was, but the part that they picked up for PC, is that enough for PlayStation? Is it enough for Sony to go, okay, well, this is where we're staying? Will they be able to maintain or survive in the future, right? Will that niche market of gamers, right? Because, yeah, 100 million people buy a PlayStation, but that niche gamers that buy the first-party titles to support Sony and whatnot, will that be enough for them moving forward? There's typically a mid-gen upgrade been since the PlayStation 2 and 360 eras. Yeah. And everyone's saying, when I was doing my thing, Tony, people were saying it's too early. And I'm like, actually, it would be this year. It's actually late, because I think it's coming out next holiday season. I think it's going to come out holiday season of 2024. Okay. We looked it up. PlayStation 2 came out, and then 3 years later, the PlayStation Slim, or Pro came out. PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 3 Pro came out 3 years later. PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Slim/Pro came out 3 years after that. So here we are with PlayStation 5. 3 years after would be this holiday season. But I think because of the pandemic, because they weren't systems out there, they're actually pushing it a little bit to 2024. Again, that's my speculation, what it would be. I'm going to play Diablo 4 on PC, but might use my PlayStation 5 controller so I could lazy boy up in recliner, kick back, play him. I think you'll enjoy it more on the PC, boss. And those of you coming here, boss has been around my channel for a while, and we go back and forth. So I'm not like being rude or dismissive or anything to boss. This is the way we go back and forth. When 80% of the console-based players COD, they don't need an upgrade. Well, that's true as well. I didn't even bring up the COD thing as far as like, yeah, when 80% of the market, is it 80%? I thought it was 48%. Oh, it's 48% of the sales, but 80% of PlayStation. Is that what it is? I wouldn't mind getting into the DR drive. The VR driving looks pretty sick, right? It does look pretty sick. That would take the driving to the next level. That would be pretty cool. Like, I play the truck driving simulator, right? American Truck Simulator. Right? And what bothers me is, like, when I'm driving on my steering wheel, when I'm playing the game, that I have to take my hand off the steering wheel. I could use the D-pad on the steering wheel, or I have to use the mouse to, like, turn, right? I know they have the eye tracking stuff that you can turn, which is fine. But if I could play that game with a VR headset and, like, actually drive and turn my head and see the rear view mirrors and stuff like that, that would take it to the next level. I saw some of that. Let me see if I can get the. Let me see. Was it GT VR?
Hello, viewers. Sony.
Here, let's bring this up. I'm not gonna play it. We're just gonna look at it. Like, look, he's playing on the PlayStation. This is next level. You know what this is like? You guys ever played Test Driver in the arcade and stuff like that, where they had you surrounded with the screens? Like, you would push the seat up into the cabinet, and the screen was surrounding you. Obviously, you're not wearing a headset, but you would turn to see like the actual thing. A couple little tear there, but this would be really cool. Right, exactly, boss. waiting for VR to get more popular, but I would love a Forza VR. I don't know if Xbox, you think Xbox is going to go that route? Because they didn't before. And I don't know if they go the route that they're going right now with Xbox. I don't know if cloud gaming is going to support the VR as good, right? I think what Xbox is doing is they're maintaining right now until they get the technology down where they're just mind-blowing of latency and the cloud service. I don't think VR will ever blow up, Tony. I don't think it'll ever blow up, and here's why. A majority of the population, okay, just the general population gets super motion sickness when they put headgear on for a short period of time, right? Like my wife can't even go see a 3D movie without getting nauseous with the 3D. Okay, now obviously it's just my wife, but like saying that my wife represents the million people or anything, but there's a lot of people, and there's always going to be a niche group of people that love VR and can take it. But another thing about VR is short bursts of actual playing games, which goes counterproductive of what gamers developers want you to do, right? They want you to play games as long as possible, but you can't play games as long. You can't do an 8-hour stint inside a VR headset, right? This gets into a conversation about like Ready Player One type of stuff, but like you can't sit into a like sheltered from the world. It's a completely like, your brain would start thinking that you are there like physically. What would happen? I used to work at an arcade. I've told this story before. And at the end of work, all the employees, we would play Daytona USA in the arcade, right? And this is not even VR. We would sit down at the arcade and we would race, the 6-player race, and we would have turns, and we sit there for like an hour just playing the racing game, right? And then we would leave and get in our cars, and you would notice that when we got in our cars, we felt like we were going slow. You would hear people like peel out of the parking lot and like drive really fast because we were playing that game for so long and sitting there that our brains thought when we got in the car for real that we were in a freaking racing car, right? That your brain couldn't distinct between like what the speed of 20 miles an hour is in the video game compared to 20 miles an hour in real life. So we would go faster and speed out and whatnot. When you live in a VR world like this, right, your brain starts to adapt to what you're doing. You get more exhausted. You would be more physically exhausted. You know what I mean? I tried VR on PC with Half-Life Alex, but I get paranoid of what's around me outside of the headset. I find myself wanting to peep outside every couple of minutes. That's another thing, right? You don't know your awareness of around you. Someone comes in. I don't even like wearing headphones at a certain period. Like during the day, I try not to wear headphones because my son's here, my wife could be here, and they come up behind me. My desk is in a situation where the door is behind me, so I won't hear them come in, right? At night when they're sleeping, it's different. High-speed go-karts for a couple hours and try to drive speed. Exactly. That's exactly right. It's the same thing, right? So, I mean, this is amazing, though. This is really cool. This would bring racing back for me. Like, I complained about Forza, right? When I played Forza to me was a really fun game, but it was too arcadey for me. I want more realistic games, but at the same time, when you're playing the game, I'm not immersed into the game. This would immerse me in the game, and if I have to drive like real, that makes it even more immersive. Yeah, exactly. There's practicality of like, oh, you put a headset on, it's fantastic. But then there's reality that sets in. You're like, I can't wear this headset. If I wear this headset, I'm shutting off. When my son was, I'm a stay-at-home dad, right? So I was taking care of my son when he was an infant. I lived with one ear off my head so I could hear him wake up or cry in the middle of the night or whatnot. Because I would stream when he was an infant. I would stream in the mid like from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning. That was like my shift, so my wife could sleep. So I could never put the headset on completely because I had to hear him, right? Now it's just like nature to me because I played for so long like that. I like to wear super cheap Sony headsets that just cover one ear and has a mic on the other, super light, but also have a Razer headset. but it feels Yeah, 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 and that's what it would be. This is cool though. I would definitely play a racing game because you've heard me on the podcast, which reminds me tonight, guys. Podcast Generation X Gaming usually on Thursday nights 8 p.m. Eastern. It's on tonight, Wednesday night 8 p.m. Eastern because Sarge was busy on Thursday, so we moved it to Wednesday this week. Just this week. I'm the same. I'm absolutely cannot do VR with the headset for 15 minutes. I get yeah. And I think that's the reason VR, there's so many people. I remember going to TwitchCon back in 2016. I went with Brainchild, right? And we were going through this VR, trying VR headsets and stuff when we were there. And a lot of people that were there were like, I can't do it. I get nauseous. I get sick. Here's the thing. When you put VR headset on, your eyes see at a certain rate, okay? Video games are at 30 frames, 60 frames, but your eyes are doing much more. So if you don't have a high-end headset on you, you're going to get nauseous. So they have to have the best VR headsets to make you not feel nauseous, okay? And the problem with that is, even if the headset didn't make you nauseous, okay, and let's say you didn't get paranoid because you put the thing on, you didn't know your spatial awareness, it's the price factor. The price factor of it is extremely high for most people, especially if they don't know, and you can't sell VR unless you try it, right? It's like being a vacuum salesman. How do you sell a vacuum, okay, if the person can't try the vacuum? Do you know what I mean? What if Star Wars made an open world VR game in the future? I mean, I would be okay with it, Jesse, but I don't think you could play it like I played Hogwarts for 93 hours. That stint of time, I don't think I could sit down and play 93 hours of a VR in a week. I would love to play a good Harry Potter or Star Wars game, realistic VR. There's actually pretty good Star Wars games. There's the Vader one, and then there's the Galactic. I forget what it's called. It's based on the land that they built in Disney World. PS5 Pro. Should I buy a PlayStation 5 or wait this thing? I mean, DZ, are you in the market right now to buy a PlayStation 5? Here's the downside of waiting. You don't get to play the 3 games that are exclusive for PlayStation 5. That's the downside. Okay? If you're looking to get games, there hasn't been exclusive PlayStation 5 games. I think there's 3. Gran Turismo, Ratchet and Clank, and the DLC for Horizon Zero Dawn. Or, I'm sorry, Horizon Forbidden West, right? That's it. Oh, real quick, look at him, right? We watched this guy for what? 11 minutes. Look at him. Look at him, right? He looks exhausting, right? He looks exhausting after he takes it off, right? He looks exhausted after 11 minutes of playing a VR headset, right? That's what I'm talking about, right? I don't know if he looks bright and bushy, maybe. Yeah. And then he looks pretty exhausted. Look, he's like, oh god, freaking hot, right? I wonder if he says something. Let me see.
Turismo 7. It's absolutely incredible experience. Obviously, if you have any questions, please do let me know. I've loved my first few hours here with the PSVR 2 on Gran Turismo 7. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know
he
your
loved
questions,
it. He looks. You see what his face though? It looks exhausting. Like if you had to play a 2-hour session 3-hour session with that, it's gonna be weird. I just hate the floating hands to get the technology right. Yeah, it's. I think they have. Well, the floating hands. If you play the Star Wars VR one, let me show you. Star Wars VR. There's a Darth Vader one. I don't think they have the floating hands. I could be wrong. Let me close some of these tabs down. Do they have floating hands in this? No, you actually see. There's the galactic one. There's the galactic one that you actually see your body. Oh, this is the floating hands. This is floating hands, but this one that I'll show you. Let me find the other one. I think it's Tales from Galaxy's Edge. This one's not... Oh, no, it is floating hands. It didn't seem like floating hands, because I remember looking down and seeing my belt and seeing all the stuff on me, like you had legs and stuff. Maybe this is an older version. Like, you would look down and you would actually see your body, which I thought was pretty cool, because you would put it on your... I guess I was wrong. Because I played it at Disney, and when I looked down, you would take the thermal detonators and put them on your belt, and you would look off and you could grab your gun off your belt. I don't remember the floating hands. Did they fix that? When was this? This is 3 weeks ago, so I guess not. This is a fun game, though. This is a fun game. I would take, if you give me a Star Wars game like Skyrim in VR, I would play the crap out of that. I'd play the crap out of that. Like, to get immersive like that in small doses, again, VR is so hard, though, man. VR is so hard. You know what would be really cool? I know they'll never do it, but well, I don't want to say never do it. Can you imagine like a holodeck type of thing? You walk into a room, like the room that they use for like filming the movies and stuff now. Where they're using the Unreal Engine to make the background. Can you imagine walking into a room like that and then playing a game and you're no glasses? You're just in the game. You're just immersed in the game. That would be cool. I hope though, boss, if it takes another 10 years, right? Right? If it takes another 10 years, I'm okay with like fantasy-based games like this, like sci-fi fantasy type stuff. But I don't know if I want to play like a super realistic, like I don't know if I want to play like Division in a VR world. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just go outside and do something. I don't know if I want, like, I'm okay if it's virtual reality, but I'm in a world that's not super realistic. Like some sort of chip that rests against your brain and sends you signals or something. That would be, like you're basically dreaming. It would be like a dream, you know? Remember when Xbox tried the hollow table thing with Minecraft and dropped it? Well, they're actually still working on that technology. They're still working on that technology. It's AR. They're still working on it. It's not mass produced. I mean, Tony, I saw. I've told this story multiple times. In 2007, I saw a 3D television without glasses. It was a curved television, okay, and they filmed a whole football game, okay, in 3D. And we went to this summit, and we were getting trained on the new 3D cameras and stuff. The Genesis that was filmed with like Superman and whatnot. And when I went to this conference, we were watching a football game, and they had us stand up and walk, right? And you would walk around, and when you were walking, you would actually see, like, so if this was the offensive line, okay, and then you walked one way, you would start to see, and you would be behind the offensive line. And then if you went the other direction, then you would see behind the defensive line. And there was no glasses, and it was crystal clear. I'm talking no blur, no nothing, crystal clear. I have yet to see that technology ever hit like the public. No glasses, curved TV, and 3D. It was amazing. It was amazing. I was like, wow. I was like, this is going to be some shit. Never seen it. Just imagine you're playing VR2 with Star Wars and Jedi Temple, and you're just sitting down and mention to turn your head side of you, see Master Yoda talking to you in meditation, something like that. Be awesome. That'd be cool if you lay down or something, and your chip plays the game experience in your head. Maybe another 30 years. That would be crazy, because then would your brain be able to? Because right now people have problems with VR headsets. They put the VR headset on, right? And they can't distinguish if it's real or not. And that's when you see the videos of people like jumping off and smashing into their television set. So if it's something like that with a chip to your brain, if you died in your game, would your brain know that it's fake? Do you know what I mean? Dustin says those chips are in your brain are still being worked on. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that's crazy. I wonder if it was just expensive to make. Probably. Right, PTSD off a video game, right? You're playing like Call of Duty. There's like explosions and stuff happening. You wake up and you're, hey, you're like running like, Vader's after me. You're like running down a thing. People are looking at you like, what the hell's wrong with that guy? Like you're sleeping, when your eyes twitching, you watch your like dog and their eyes are twitching and stuff. Like, what are they dreaming about? What they're doing? Playing fetch. You see their legs moving and stuff. That'd be some crazy stuff, man. PTSD for $60 games. Sign me up. Sounds like experience. So real in your brain, would you be able to know that you still have a chip in your head or take it out? Right. You know what I mean? Like that would be some crazy, crazy stuff if they did stuff like that. And this is why I don't think they could make it realistic. Like if they made it visually different, so then you would know that it was a video game. If a chip's on my head now, I'm just a clone. Yeah, it'd be crazy. Video games, certain things, again, are not going to be super popular. There's always going to be a niche market. VR is going to be a niche market. I guarantee you AR will pick up more than VR. Right? If you ever do the AR stuff on your phone, if you could do that in a contact lens, right? Where all of a sudden it's giving you data and different things while you're walking around the world. Or all of a sudden, let's say you're doing the Pokemon game, right? The Pokemon Go, right? Imagine you have contact lenses that are AR contact lenses. You're walking around and you're catching Pokemon with no devices in your hand. You're just interacting with it based on what your visual eyes are just seeing. No peripheral in front of you. That's some crazy stuff, right? It would have to pause every 30 minutes or something to make it obvious. Yeah, they would have to put, they wouldn't, but they would have to do something. Because your brain, I'm telling you, man, your brain is a very powerful thing, and it can get manipulated pretty fast as well. So again, just like we played the racing game, or if you're putting a headset on, when you take that headset off, man, your brain is like, that was awesome. Like the endorphins that are going off in your brain, and you want to go back into that world. That's why we like video games, right? You're addicted to the video game because it's in a better place than you want to be at the moment, right? If you're in a fantasy of Star Trek or Star Wars or Transformers, and you're like, oh my God, I'm living in the world of this, that's where you want to be. And your brain starts to imagine things, and you're detached. You're looking at a screen, you're touching a keyboard or a controller. You put that headset on, you're in there, right? You're inside that world. This is why Second Life was huge. Right? Second Life was huge back in the day in 2004 up to like 2011 because people were creating worlds and you were going in this, and people were using VR headsets back then to be in depth into that world. So Sony's going that route with VR. They're doubling down on VR. They're making a more powerful system. They're making more games. They said there's like 30 games for VR coming out, and that's what they need, right? That's what they need. They need that type of stuff to move towards that. But again, you're looking at the niche market. So PlayStation, not only are they doing the niche market for first-party titles like gamers, right? And this is me not throwing shade at Sony. This is what they're doing. Sony is making a game. If they have 100 million people, okay, 20 million people are buying God of War, 20 million people are buying Horizon, 20 million people are buying Spider-Man. Then they have another niche market of VR, right? 8 million, 10 million people are buying the headsets. Maybe 15 million people are buying the headsets, which is huge. It's a huge portion of the market for VR, but that's the way they're going, right? So they're taking these little niches, and that's who they're focusing on. Where Xbox is not focusing on any of those niches. The niche that they're focusing on, the abundance of people, as many people as possible that can play the game. And we don't care about selling $70 games, $60 games. All we care about is getting 100 million, 200 million people, okay, every month paying $10. Okay. Sony is looking for 20 million people, okay, to pay $70 every quarter, right? Or every year for that one game. Because God of War comes out once every 5 years or whatever it is, right? 2018 to now. So every 5 years, they're making $70 off 20 million people that time frame. Meanwhile, Xbox is going $10, $15 every month. We're going to throw you all these different games, right? We don't care about the hardcore gamers. You have the X. You can play hardcore games if you want, but majority of the population is casual gamers that can play games anywhere, anytime. They don't feel obligated that to put in 8 hours or 10 hours. Just hop in, play a game, try a game, move on. And they want 100 million, 200 million people, right? If Michael Proctor yesterday said if they get 150 to 200 million people paying 10 to 15 bucks, right? That's $3.5 billion, okay, every month. Every month. Okay? That's like, what is that, like 36 billion, 42 billion, something like that, right? $42 billion a year on doing nothing. They're not making games. They're not distributing games. They're just cloud gaming to you, to your phone, to your tablet, to whatever. Sony fans get this like chip on their shoulder saying, well, we have better games. But as a consumer, who gives a shit, right? You just want to play games wherever you want to play games for the average person. They don't care that you're getting the better game on Sony. They're like, well, I'm paying $10 and I'm getting all of these games, and I don't have time to put time into that game, right? So it's completely two different business models. Completely two different business models. And then there's Nintendo. If you guys didn't watch Free Guy, just watch it. Just talking about right now. Yeah, it's you're in that game. You feel reality. Same with Ready Player One. Same with what was the other game? There was another movie. There was another one. Gamer. Where he's in prison. The kids are playing and he's controlling prisoners. The one. What was that one called? The Gamer. The Gamer. I think it was called. Is that what it's called? The Gamer. Great movie, by the way they filmed it. Great directing in that one. Some shots, I was like, how did they do that? Yeah, Gamer with Gerald Butler. Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting. Wouldn't it be weird if just kids are playing video games like a Call of Duty and they think they're playing Call of Duty, but they're actually controlling a robot in a far land in an actual battle? Imagine that. And then every time that you die in the game, that robot dies, right? It gets blown up or whatever. And then you respawn. They just send another robot out into the field and you think you're playing a video game, but you're actually fighting a war. That's a movie script right there. Watch Upgrade 2018. Actually amazing. You're welcome. I didn't see that. Upgrade. You write that down. Write that down. Called Upgrade. And doesn't work. Upgrade 2018. It's either on Peacock or Netflix. Okay. Yeah, I like things like that. But getting back to Sony, right? Let's take a picture, right? We look at game companies when we were younger. Obviously, we didn't follow it as closely as I'm following it now because I was a kid and I didn't give two shits. But Nintendo and Sega, right? In what world as a kid, right? When you were playing Nintendo and Sega Genesis was at the same type of thing. Genesis had better games than Nintendo for the most part. The graphics looked better. It just seemed like a better system. But Nintendo was more popular, and Sega was trying to break into that market, right? Genesis was that game system that was competing with Nintendo at that time. Okay, at least for that smaller group. In no world did we look at that and go, Sega wouldn't be around today, right? Like Sega wouldn't be around today. Saying that to you as a kid, you're like, no, this is a great system. There's no way, because you don't think about the business aspect of those systems, right? Nintendo and Sega were going at it, okay, and then Sega kind of went off on its own, like bye. And then all of a sudden they came back with the Sega Dreamcast, and the Sega Dreamcast was such a good system. It's one of my favorite systems ever. It was just a great system, okay? And look, it's gone. It was the Stadia before Stadia, okay? It was ahead of its time. Sega dropped a system that was way ahead of its time that I think if it came out just 2 years later, I think it would have been better. But they came out at a bad time, just a bad time. But we look at the landscape now, and then PlayStation came in, right? PlayStation came in what, 1992, I believe, is when Sony came in to the market. Was it PlayStation 1? I think it was 92, right? 94. Okay. So 94 came out, and PlayStation back then, the big game that everyone loved to play was Grand Theft Auto, right? Grand Theft Auto 3, right? Was it Grand Theft Auto 3? No. What was the big game? GTA 3 release date, 2000. Oh, yeah, no, it was. It came out 2001, and then it was on PlayStation 2, right? And then it came out for PlayStation 2 as well, right? Or was it just on PlayStation? It was on PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2. My bad. So PlayStation came out, right? PlayStation came out in 94, and then PlayStation 2 came out in 90. When did PlayStation 2 come out? God, I forget if I was in college or release date. 2000. Yeah. So it came out in 2000, and the big game for that was Grand Theft Auto. When PlayStation came out, though, right, you're playing Gran Turismo. You're playing, what was the other game? What was the other game? Was it SOCOM? I forget if SOCOM was on PlayStation 2 or PlayStation. I'm getting confused now. Okay. But all of a sudden, this third company came in, right? Tekken was a game that was shot on PlayStation 1. Tekken Dynasty Warriors. Yeah. Right? But when PlayStation 1 came in the market, we're like, what is this? PlayStation is going to be garbage, right? Because we were Sega fans, we were Nintendo fans, and PlayStation was the Xbox when it came into the market. And we're like, what is this third? Now PlayStation has made a name for themselves, right? PlayStation 2 came out, one of the best-selling systems of all time. So many good games on PlayStation 2, right? So many. Okay. Then, my favorite game on PlayStation 2 was Grand Theft Auto 3. I played the crap out of that game. That and Gran Turismo. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And then Battlefront 1 and 2 when it came out on PlayStation as well. Okay, those were like my top games over there. And SOCOM that's where I cut my online gaming days with SOCOM. Okay. But PlayStation came in and they just exploded, man. They made a name for themselves with PlayStation 2, and then Xbox came in 2001, and everyone was making fun of them, and they never really sold a lot, but they had some good games back then, but they just never captured the market. Now let's fast forward 10 years, right? Is Xbox here? Is PlayStation here? Right? They've been around, right? Xbox has been around for 20 years. PlayStation's been around for 30 years. Sega was around. No, they're not around any longer. Nintendo's still around, right? Do we see PlayStation? Not because they are gone, but do we just shift into where all of a sudden maybe Amazon Luna is much bigger 10 years from now, and all of a sudden they make some moves. Maybe they buy EA and they own the sports titles. Maybe something goes on. Could Xbox be completely gone and evolve? Maybe they sell it off to somebody else, right? Does PlayStation get bought out and sold to somebody else? Like, there's right now we look at it and go, no way, it's not going to happen. But it could. 100% could. Especially if we're moving away from the consoles. If there's no more consoles moving forward after the next console cycle, right? Maybe there is a PlayStation 6. Maybe there is an Xbox Series X, XX, or whatever it is. Is that it 10 years from now? Is that the last one, and then after it's completely gone? Is there only 10 more years of PlayStation? Is there only 10 more years of Xbox? Battlefront 2 to this day, General, is one of my favorite games of all time. They did so many good things with that game. So much so that when Battlefront 1 and 2 came out for the new gen, they wanted conquest and stuff from that. Vice City was probably my favorite. Oh, Vice City was such a good game. The music soundtrack was fantastic. But then again, I'm biased because, I grew up in the 80s. Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 2 was also legendary. I loved the Spider-Man series. A lot of people forget about those games, Jesse. They think that the Spider-Man that came out for this PlayStation is like the one-all be-all for swinging. The swinging for those games back in the day was fantastic. I mean, obviously, it's great now, but back then, that swinging mechanic, the only thing it was like you were shooting your web to nothing. It wasn't attaching to buildings. It was just straight up in the air. Right, but I didn't care. I was like, this is amazing. What was it? Spider-Man for PlayStation 2. Yeah, here. Look at these graphics back then, man. This is PlayStation 2. Yeah, see, he's just shooting up in the sky. Right? The swinging then was amazing. Okay? Now, obviously, you compare it to the Spider-Man of now, and you're like, the hell? This is garbage. But this was fantastic back then. Some great stuff. Look at this. Look at right, this is great. Look at those graphics. They're fantastic, man. What's happening here? Show me some. I remember I would nonstop just swing around the city like this. The free falling. I think there was one more. There was another game of Spider-Man. Was it Spider-Man? Spider-Man. That's Spider-Man. Let me get Spider-Man 2. Oh, yeah, this is great. This is Spider-Man 2. Now, see, the fighting in this game was much better. Sorry for the 4:3 ratio here. Okay. Now, the fighting for this was actually really good. Right? This is the start of it. right? And look at the swinging. Here, can we back up here? Show me the swinging mechanics. Like, people forget about this game. If it wasn't for the game like this, there wouldn't be an Insomniac game. Look at that swinging. The swinging was fantastic until you hit the building there. Yeah, the fighting in this was much better. The swinging in this game was much better. Look, you can't tell me the swinging is bad in this game. Okay, everyone raves and stuff about the Spider-Man of now. They're like, oh man, the swing is so good. This is like 20 years ago, and it was awesome. The highly anticipated sequel of God of War Ragnarok is in early stages of development in Santa Monica Studios. The final game of 2018 narrative is directed by Cory Barlog. It's currently scheduled to release in an unannounced PlayStation platform. Yeah, PlayStation 6. Or the end of the PlayStation 5. I'll say that. So we'll see it. Let's see, 2018, and we got the other one in, 2022? So 19, 20, 21, 22, 4 years. So we're talking 23, 24, 25, 26, 2027, which would be the tail end, of this PlayStation 5 cycle going into PlayStation 6. And we'll have the same conversation that we had when God of War Ragnarok came out, and then we're talking about PlayStation 5 coming. It'll be cross-platform several years from now, and people will still complain about cross-gen. Right. Same news stories, same different time frame, right? That's it. I also hate that one kid who says, my balloon in Spider-Man 2. My balloon! It's with the Pro? I mean, that means it would still run on the PlayStation 5. I don't think there's going to be this tremendous difference. Now, obviously, as a person that doesn't own a PlayStation 5 at the moment, I would buy a PlayStation 4, or I'm sorry, a PlayStation 5 Pro over a PlayStation 5. I wouldn't buy it. If you're on the market, I know DZ asked earlier, I don't know if I answered the question, I wouldn't purchase it. I wouldn't purchase a 5 now. I would wait. If you waited this long, 3 years into the life cycle, you can wait 1 more year, right? If you waited 3, you can wait 4, because I guarantee you that PlayStation 5 Pro will probably come out 2024. They got to get rid of their inventory now. And the 2 ways they can do that. The way they can get rid of their inventory now, right? If you can wait, they want to move their old stuff. So what'll even happen now, let's say you're in the mood for a PlayStation 5, but you can't afford a PlayStation 5 Pro, because let's say it comes out at $700. Okay? They'll lower the price of this one. Once they announce that one and it comes out, PlayStation 5 Pro version, and then the separate disc drive if they have that, these consoles of the regular PlayStation 5s will drop down to $300, $400. You know what I mean? Do we even need a Pro? I mean, the question is moot. Of course you need a Pro. That's how businesses make money. You might not need a Pro, Travis, but I don't have a PlayStation yet. So why would I buy a regular PlayStation when I can get a Pro? Or if I'm really in the market for a PlayStation, I wait for the Pro to come out and then I buy a regular PlayStation, right? Because the difference, I don't need the greatest next best thing. I can take what's there. Build a medium spec PC with YouTube videos and hook it up to your television. Yeah. I don't see Pro versions of Xbox or PlayStation for at least a couple of years. They haven't been able to market saturation like they did before pandemic. For this is the extra year I'm giving them, right? Every console before, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, all came out with their Slim/Pro version 3 years into the life cycle of that console. Right now, this is the third year. Yes, the pandemic put a damper on things, and they wasn't in the market. And this is why I think they'll push it into 2024 holiday season. This is why they're all in abundance now at Target and Best Buy and Costco and BJ's. Right, they're all over the place now because they're trying to get this inventory out. Why would you buy a PlayStation, period, since you're an Xbox fanboy? Please, here we go again. I don't think any of the Transformer movies they have love or are coupled up with. So why would you need to be trans? What do you mean, boss? You might as well wait for a little longer. I hate those dumb ideas are making it to Transformers. Oh, I don't know where you. Oh, Travis brought it up. Okay. Yeah, one of the new characters in the movie is going to be transgender. Oh, well, they already have a comic book, non-binary, which is just like it's a robot. It's a robot. They don't have genders. The only reason they made genders is so the girls would buy the toys. That was it. That was it. The reason there's in G.I. Joe there's Scarlet and Lady J and Baroness is because they wanted girls to buy the toys as well. That was the only reason. They made it official that RC is a trans robot. Stupid. Didn't bring up Transformers. I commented on it, but that the desperate for topics, I picked Transformers Gundam. Yeah, the Flintstones. Didn't we bring it up a couple of months ago? I said if they make Flintstones and Jetsons, I was like, I'm out. You know the story of Poison, right? I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't think RC was a Trans Am. Nice one. Yeah, no, she's not. She's a motorcycle. But yeah, it's stupid. It's stupid doing stuff like that. I'm gonna wrap it up here a little bit. I do believe that PlayStation is fine. I don't think PlayStation's going anywhere anytime soon. I do believe that PlayStation has decided what they want. They want, and they said it about 2 years ago that they want to market towards gamers, high-end gamers. So if you're a person that likes video games and you want the best games experience, then you'll probably want to buy a PlayStation sometime, either a PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro, or anything that they do if you're a PC player and buy the PlayStation games on your PC, right? So I don't think they're going anywhere, but I do believe that their market is going to diminish extremely as the population moves towards cloud gaming and more casual gamers, right? We all made fun of mobile phone games years ago, and now the mobile phone market is demolishing regular video games, okay, because of the value that it is. So a lot of people are making mobile games, and we laugh at it back then. We're like, mobile games. And now you look at it, and mobile games are exploding, okay? Now, mobile games are, for gamers' perspectives, and I'm talking about the hardcore gamers look at this and go, this is stupid. They're all microtransaction filled. The graphics look like a mobile game type of thing. But then there's the ones that blur the lines, right? There's the Black Desert Online, there's the Genshin Impacts, there's the Fortnites on mobile, there's Apex Legends mobile, there's Call of Duty mobile. They laughed at all of this, and now here we are in a world where some games are, you can't even tell if they're mobile games anymore, right? So Sony is going to be a fine, but if they're happy where they are, like Nintendo's happy with their market, right? They don't kind of bend one way or the other. They stay in their lane and do what they do. If Sony stays in their lane and continues doing what they do, they'll have a consistent 20 million people buying their first party title games. They'll have a consistent 30 million people buying their their games. So overall, I think Sony's fine where they are. They're just their market. They'll be number one in their market because there'll be nobody else in their market except Nintendo. Nintendo will be there, and Xbox will play in there. But Nintendo doesn't, or Xbox doesn't care about game sales or game. Well, actually, they don't. They don't care about game sales, and they don't care about console sales either. They just want that $10, $15 a month for the subpar games that the gamers talk about. But at the same time, the average gamer buys 3 games a year. And they're marketing Game Pass as you pay $15 all year, that's 3 games, right? You pay $10 a month, that's less than 3 games, and you get a lot of more games that you wouldn't have. Lots of people are not on the front edge, right? They're not keeping up with the Jeffersons here, where you're buying every single brand new game that comes out, okay? People that buy Diablo at day 1, there's going to be a ton of people that buy Diablo year 1, year 2, and by that time, it'll probably be on Game Pass. Right? And that's another story for another day because they said that it's not coming to Game Pass. Well, yet. Once the market saturation hits, they're going to take that and then put it over there because that's where they're going to make more money once the Battle Pass comes into the game and so on and so forth. Travis says people laugh at Amazon as well. Yeah, and look at them now. Xbox doesn't care, full stop, but doesn't care about what? Making high-end games? That's the market. That market is a smaller market. Right? Again, we talked about this 2 hours ago in the beginning of my thing. If PlayStation can even get up to 200 million people, okay, that is a small percentage of the 3 billion people playing video games. Xbox is going for that 3 billion market. And if they get 10% of 3 billion, it's better than the 20% of 200 million. You see what I'm saying? Sure, they're selling 200 million copies of a PlayStation, but they're only selling on their first-party titles 20 million, 30 million copies. Xbox won't be a gaming company or will be a streaming company. Well, streaming games is still a gaming company. What is a gaming company? Is a gaming company defined by making a console? No. About making games and putting it out. They have plenty of studios that make games, so they're a gaming company. Remember what PlayStation's slogan was? Their big boys play. Now years later, they're proven correct. Yeah, that was their market. And even 2 years ago, they came out and said we're making high-end games. I did an analogy earlier about 2 bakeries, right? That make pastries. One is a high-end pastry place that charges 4 times more than the regular bakery, but the bakery that's around the corner is a line out the door, right? So for every one person that buys a pastry at the high-end place, you have 4 people buying, and they're sold out every single day. And the popularity of it, right? The bakery that has subpar stuff, but it's also good pricing, is sold out every single day, and they're crowded. Where the high-end pastry place is not busy, and they're selling stuff for 4 times the amount. That's the difference. I'm gonna go pick up a chicken sandwich today on a KFC so I can get my beta code. Do you think Xbox would ever rebrand like Meta/Facebook? No, I think their rebrand is Game Pass. So I don't know if that answers the question then. So yes, because they're rebranding now. They're rebranding in the process of they're not console-based gaming company anymore. They're a streaming-based company. but they're still a gaming company, and I think the rebrand is Game Pass, right? They don't care if you buy a game. If you buy it, sure, fantastic, but they just want that number. They would rather have 200 million people paying $10 than have 20 million people buy one game. You see what I'm saying? Simple solution. Be an erotic bakery. You see what I'm saying? If I make a game for 5 years and it comes out and sells 20 million copies, you make $1 billion, right? What is it? If it sells 20 million, yeah, it'd be $1.4 billion if they sold 20 million copies, right? But if I can get 100 million people, right? Hell, even 50 million people, okay, at $10 is 500 million a month. Okay, so you're making billions of dollars on that. If you can get 100 million people, if you get 150 million people, if you get 200 million people, that's $1 billion, $2 billion, right? Every month. That's what they want. They want the Netflix numbers every single month for gaming. It's branding. It's that. It just won't change. It will be just flipped it. Here's the thing, though. If there's no other console, right, who is PlayStation going to push against? If Xbox goes all digital, let's say on the next console, there is no other Xbox, right? There's only the Keystone. Okay, there's no other console. You're playing Xbox on your Sony, your iPad, your tablet, your laptop, whatever. There's no other console. Is Sony selling a high-end gaming system and going for the high-end clientele when there's nobody else in their market? You see what I'm saying? Do all of a sudden, does the battle go from Sony's better than Xbox to going Sony's better than Nintendo? Because Nintendo's not playing the same game as Sony as well, right? They're in their lane. Sony will be in their lane. So if they're still giving the market for gamers, which is Sony, is it high-end game if there's no other competition for them? Right? Is it the same? Because right now, Sony and Xbox need each other because they push against each other. There's competition. Competition's good. But if one goes off and there's no actual console anymore and one's still making a console, is there competition? $85 gigabyte install. Damn. Right? And you want to buy a physical system, which is fine. But what I'm saying is it's bad for business if there's no competition in that market. Because if Sony doesn't have competition, then who are they competing against? Why do they have to keep making the stuff? Now, if they have integrity, which is a completely different thing, and they still make good products for their customers, even though there's no competition, that's a completely different story. Right? But hopefully they still have integrity and they want to make a good product even though there's no competition anymore. The driving factor right now is to make better games than Xbox because they have to. They need to. But if there's no console on one of them anymore, what are they doing? Right? Because think about it. If Sony knows that they can make the money because they're the last ones out, then why do they have to try as hard? All right. That'll do it for me today. I do appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out. I hope you guys liked the conversation and stuff. We had a bunch of different topics and different conversations. The main topic was PlayStation, the rumor of PlayStation 5 Pro, leaks from Insider Gaming, talking about what it could potentially have. And I was talking about Michael Prackner yesterday. We're talking about will Sony still be here years from now? And we went into VR headsets. We went into a bunch of stuff. If you like this, go back to the beginning of the video. Watch the opening. It's about 10 minutes long. And if you want to leave after that, by all means, go ahead. Hit that like button down below. Don't forget tonight, Generation X Gaming, the weekly podcast, usually on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, will be tonight, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on 30 NSG. I do appreciate everyone coming out and hanging out with us. I hope you like the conversation. I hope you like the back and forth. I appreciate it very much. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.